The Trump administration is pushing to cancel $4.9 billion in foreign aid, money Congress already approved for international programs. This move has sparked a heated debate in Washington. The White House frames this as fiscal responsibility and an America First move, emphasizing the need to prioritize domestic issues. But Congress sees it as a direct challenge to its constitutional power over spending. Lawmakers argue that this undermines their authority. Critics warn this undermines bipartisan agreements and sets a dangerous precedent. They fear it could lead to more executive overreach in the future. The proposal lands just weeks before the government funding deadline, threatening to derail negotiations and risk a shutdown. This adds another layer of complexity to an already tense situation. Lawmakers now face a tough choice: back the president or keep the government running. The stakes are incredibly high for both sides. Foreign policy experts argue these cuts could harm national security, weaken alliances, and diminish America's role on the global stage, and open doors for rivals like China and Russia. These nations could fill the void left by reduced U.S. influence. The debate isn't just about money. It's about America's global influence and the balance of power in Washington. The implications are far-reaching. The stakes are high and the outcome could have lasting consequences for U.S. leadership abroad. The world is watching closely. With the September 30th deadline looming, Congress must pass funding or risk a government shutdown. A short-term fix, called a continuing resolution, needs bipartisan support, now complicated by the foreign aid fight. Senate Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer, refuse to back any bill with deep foreign aid cuts, calling it a poison pill. This standoff puts Senate Republicans in a bind: support the president or keep the government open. A shutdown would halt government services, freeze legislative progress, and trigger a toxic blame game. The threat of crisis overshadows all other priorities, deepening partisan divides on Capitol Hill. The administration's tool of choice is the pocket rescission, a little-known maneuver that allows the executive branch to quietly cancel funds that Congress has already approved. The strategy relies on running out the clock, using the calendar as a weapon in a high-stakes political game. By submitting the rescission request with less than 45 days left in the fiscal year, the White House exploits a loophole in the law, banking on the likelihood that Congress won't have enough time to respond before the money expires. Critics, including some Republicans, argue this tactic violates the spirit, and possibly the letter, of the Impoundment Control Act, calling it an attack on Congress's constitutional authority over federal spending. Senate Appropriations Chair Susan Collins has been especially vocal, labeling the move not only unlawful but also warning that it sets a dangerous precedent for future administrations. If this maneuver succeeds, future presidents could routinely bypass Congress on spending decisions, fundamentally shifting the balance of power between the branches of government. The fight isn't just about foreign aid or a single budget item. It's about whether the executive branch can override the will of Congress and reshape the rules of American democracy. This legal gray area has sparked rare bipartisan backlash, with lawmakers from both parties warning that such actions further erode trust and cooperation between the legislative and executive branches. The outcome of this standoff could reshape how Washington handles spending battles for years to come, setting new precedents for the future of American governance. Senate Democrats are united against the foreign aid clawback, but Republicans are deeply divided. Fiscal conservatives back the cuts, prioritizing spending reductions over process or consequences. Appropriators and institutionalists like Senator Susan Collins see the move as illegal and damaging to Congress's power. Some Republicans warn the tactic gives Democrats an excuse to block funding and risk a shutdown. GOP leaders are caught between the White House and their own members' objections, struggling to find a path forward. The split weakens their negotiating position, while Democrats hold firm, knowing the pressure is on Republicans to avoid a shutdown. The party's internal discord makes a unified strategy nearly impossible. As the deadline nears, three possible outcomes come into sharp focus. Either the White House decides to back down, Senate Republicans break ranks and defy the president, or the government grinds to a halt in a shutdown. Senate Republicans could choose to stand up to the president, risking political fallout, or a shutdown could unfold if neither side is willing to compromise. If the White House backs down, it would prevent a crisis but would be widely interpreted as a major political defeat for President Trump, potentially weakening his leverage in future negotiations. Alternatively, Senate Republicans could join forces with Democrats to pass a clean funding bill, keeping the government open, but risking a fierce backlash from the president and his supporters. Or, if neither side yields, a shutdown would trigger a public blame game, disrupt federal services nationwide, and leave thousands of workers in limbo as the standoff drags on. The fight is about more than just $4.9 billion for border security. It's a test of political will, the limits of executive power, and the very balance of constitutional authority in Washington. The outcome will send a powerful message about whether presidents can bypass Congress on spending decisions, or if lawmakers will reassert their constitutional power of the purse. With time running out and tensions rising, Washington braces for a high-stakes showdown that could shape the future of American governance. Across the country, the nation watches anxiously, waiting to see who will blink first in this dramatic standoff.